Did you know that it's not enough for your leader not to be abusive? As you navigate your recovery from spiritual abuse and other types of psychological abuse, it's going to be very important for you that you work with leaders who are emotionally healthy. And sometimes, in your attempt to avoid abusive people, you may end up being under someone's leadership that is not abusive, but also is not healthy either. So, in this video, I'm going to discuss some of the ways in which you can determine whether a leader, especially a spiritual one, is emotionally healthy. My name is Dr. Felucia. I'm a licensed psychologist, and on this channel in my practice, I focus on detection, recovery from, and prevention of spiritual abuse. So, back to the topic at hand. What makes a healthy leader? Like I said before, it's not enough for them just not to be abusive. One thing that sticks out to me about an emotionally healthy leader or a healthy, good leader in general is that they are generally consistent people. Many of you have talked about how in your period when you were being spiritually abused, you noticed that the leader would almost be like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde sort of personality, right? So they're very different on very different occasions. And of course, we all have different subtle aspects and facets of our personality that we share and reveal to others. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about drastic differences where you see this person in one setting and you see them in a different setting, and you wonder if you are even interacting with the same person. I talk about this in other videos, but that actually is an abusive tactic that some people use to destabilize and try to control you. And so that's something you want to be careful of. In contrast with an emotionally healthy leader, they're going to be pretty consistent most of the time, right? The person you see at the grocery store perhaps is the same person you're going to see in an individual meeting and the same person you're going to see in group settings. So you want to be careful about making sure that you can determine how consistent this person is. And this takes time. It's not something you can just see or figure out right away. Another thing that is important in determining an emotionally healthy leader is seeing how they approach building relationships. Individuals who are not healthy tend to rush things, and they do this in a way to gain control. Somebody who is healthy is not going to do that. They're going to take their time. They're going to wait to get to know somebody, and they're going to respect your boundaries. And so, somebody who respects other people's boundaries, somebody who's healthy, somebody who is a good leader will take their time with this process. Okay. Another aspect that you will notice in an emotionally healthy leader is that they are not somebody who leads with charisma or personality. I have a video on the cult of personality in spiritually abusive environment. And some of these abusive leaders lead with their personality. So what I mean by that is that if they didn't have their personality, if they didn't have that charisma, they'd have nothing. It's a veneer. It's just fluff and air underneath. And so a healthy leader is somebody who has enough character so that as they're leading you, you see that character come forth, right? That's why emotionally healthy leaders tend to be pretty consistent because they have a solid character base. And character, of course, takes time to build. Okay. Another healthy thing that you will see, or healthy trait you'll see in stable and healthy leaders, is that they are direct in how they communicate expectations and requests. Abusive individuals, they tend to communicate in indirect and manipulative ways. They expect you to read their mind. They don't accept no for an answer. They don't respect your boundaries. With a healthy leader, you know exactly what to expect. You know what they expect of you. You know what they are requesting of you and things like that. And the reason why that's important is to some degree, it takes vulnerability to be able to make a direct request of somebody. And that's because the person has every right to refuse. That's why individuals who are manipulative and don't respect people's boundaries tend to communicate with people in indirect ways. That way, they don't have to deal with the rejection if someone's saying no, or I wouldn't even say rejection of someone saying no, but they perceive it as a rejection. So for them, because they, don't like people's boundaries and want to control people, they have difficulty accepting people's no for an answer. And so that's why the communication goes this very indirect way. However, in a healthy leader, you're not going to see that. They're going to be pretty direct with you about what they expect of you, what you can expect of them, and also, a request they have. That also goes hand in hand with boundaries. They respect your boundaries. If you don't want to talk about something, they understand that. They can express how they feel, but there is no expectation on their part that that you have to do what they say. And that's important. And you might think, well, leaders should expect people to go along with their agenda, but a healthy leader understands that people follow them because they want to, not because they have to. And they'd rather have your buy-in and your honesty than your just automatic compliance. Another trait of a healthy leader is that they see people's strengths and differences as potential assets. In other words, they're not threatened by them. An unhealthy leader, and those especially who tend to be spiritually abusive or abusive in other ways, see strengths and differences as something either to exploit or something to be threatened by. So they may not necessarily be threatened by your differences or your strengths, but instead of helping you nurture and cultivate them for your own growth, they look at them as something to exploit. Sometimes they might look at those things as very threatening. They always have to be the main character, in whatever story or plot or even situation. Like they always have to be the loudest voice in the room, the center of attention, things like that. And so you want to really be careful of people like that. In contrast, a healthy leader can relate to you and see your differences, see your different strengths, see your different ways of approaching the world and perspectives as things that can build, your path as well as help whatever team you're a part of. And so you want to pay attention to that. And again, these things aren't just things that a leader will say. People say that they do all kinds of things that they don't do. You want to see how they react to strengths and differences. Okay. And a good leader also knows when to recruit others and get help for things. They know what their lane is and they know how to stay in it. I'll probably talk about this in another video, but individuals, especially leaders who tend to be spiritually abusive and unhealthy, are very insecure and they don't know how to acknowledge that they don't know something or that they're not good at something. And instead of being like, oh, I don't know a lot about that. Let me read up on that, or let me pull this person in who's really good with it. They'll just kind of bluff their way through things and say, well, yeah, it's this or it's that, or they try to do something that they're really not equipped to do. But they just think that they're good at it, or they don't want to admit that they're not. A healthy leader knows, the confines and the boundaries around their own skill set and their own competencies. And so when they're put in a situation that's out of their league, then they know how to appropriately handle that. And they do that without just dismissing you. So that's also something to pay attention to. There's several more that I could cover, but these are some starting points. And again, these things take time. And nobody obviously is perfect or does everything perfectly all the time. But a healthy leader will show these traits far more often than not. And you'll see them by what they do, not just by what they claim to be. Okay. So I hope this information helps. I'd love to hear from you in the comment section. What other sorts of traits do you feel, or traits, qualities, behaviors, do you feel are characteristic of a healthy leader? I'd like for you to put them in the comment section. Also, if you find this information helpful, please like, share, and subscribe. That helps get this out to other people that could benefit from it. And to book a consultation, you can go to my website, skillsetcounseling.com. All right. I hope you have a wonderful day that is filled with peace. Bye-bye.